Some women don't chase, and yet they're never forgotten. They don't leave a trail of chaos behind them. They don't demand explanations or linger in the wreckage, waiting to be chosen. They simply leave, and something about that silence never leaves him. It clings to his memory like a scent he can't identify, a feeling he can't explain, a moment he never truly understood. He may have walked away, or perhaps he let her drift. But the haunting isn't in the goodbye. It's in the way she didn't collapse when he did. Because the truth is, he can't forget her. Not because she begged him to remember, but because she left behind something far more potent than words. She left a shadow. And it's not the kind that disappears in light. It's the kind that reveals it. He met her when he was half asleep. Not in the literal sense, but in the soul. He was armored, wounded, performing a version of himself he still wasn't sure he liked. And then she arrived, not loud, not needy, but real, grounded, soft in the places he didn't know he longed for. He thought he could handle her. After all, he had handled so many. But this one unnerved him, because she didn't try to be liked. She didn't mirror his ego. She didn't flatter the mask. Instead, she saw something else. Not the projection, but the man beneath it. The hunger beneath the humor. The fear beneath the bravado. The boy beneath the body. And when she looked at him, she didn't flinch. She didn't run. She simply saw. And that is what he cannot forget. Most men are not afraid of being unloved. They are afraid of being known, of being exposed in the raw, where they are not impressive, where they are not charming, where they are simply human. But the feminine that has touched her own soul no longer worships potential. She no longer falls for fragments. She no longer mothers what refuses to grow. So when she saw the unhealed in him, she didn't criticize it. She didn't try to fix it. She just didn't stay in it. And that choice, that quiet refusal to be a savior, cut deeper than any wound. Because what hurts a man most is not a woman's anger. It is her absence, especially when it comes without blame, especially when she leaves the door open and chooses not to return. There was a moment, buried in the noise of everything unspoken, when he felt the difference. Maybe it was after she stopped asking where things were going. Maybe it was when her eyes stopped lingering when he pulled away. Maybe it was when her goodnight no longer felt like an anchor, but like a farewell. And in that moment, he noticed the shift. She wasn't punishing him. She wasn't even resisting. She was simply done trying to be heard in a room where silence was safer. And that he remembers. Because long after she's gone, he replays the conversations where she gave him softness, and he gave her strategy. He replays the night she reached with presence, and he responded with performance. He remembers how much she felt, and how much he feared. But what he can't escape is the fact that she never needed him, not in the way he needed her to need him, not in the way that fed his sense of control. Her love was an offering, not a transaction, and her absence wasn't a game. It was a mirror. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is what she became to him. A mirror of what he refused to see in himself. He called it chemistry. He called it timing. He called it everything but what it was, a confrontation with his own soul. Because she didn't just walk into his life. She walked into his shadow and stayed there long enough to awaken the parts of him still sleeping. And when she left, she took nothing with her, except the version of himself he could no longer unsee. That is what haunts him. Not her beauty, not her touch, but the awareness she left behind, the ghost of potential he buried long ago, the ache of a truth he ran from for too long. There are men who chase beauty. There are men who chase validation. But the men who have met the mirror, they spend their lives chasing silence. The silence of a woman who knew herself, who loved from fullness, not fear, who offered her heart without cage or collar and refused to stay where love had to beg. She is unforgettable, not because she was perfect, but because she wasn't pretending. She didn't need his permission to feel deeply. She didn't shrink when he withheld. She didn't weaponize her love to control. She simply loved, and then she simply left. And in doing so, she handed him the one thing he never wanted: responsibility. Responsibility for his projections. Responsibility for the space he never filled. Responsibility for the connection he sabotaged. Because he couldn't bear to be truly seen. He will move on, perhaps. He may even find another. One who chases. One who soothes. One who molds herself into what he believes he needs. But it won't be the same. Because once a man has felt the gravity of a woman who walks in her anima, who holds her boundaries like sacred ground, who knows that love cannot thrive in fear, every imitation will feel thin. Every game will feel juvenile. Every connection will feel like an echo of a song he can't quite remember. Because she didn't just love him, she showed him himself. And that can never be forgotten. Some women leave memories, others leave marks. But the rarest ones, they leave mirrors. Mirrors that don't flatter. Mirrors that don't distort. Mirrors that reflect who he could have become. If only he had the courage to meet her there. He can't forget her, because she is no longer outside of him. She is in the questions he never answered. She is in the man he never became. She is in the silence he now carries, in the ache of conversations he still has in his head. He can't forget her, because she was never a chapter. She was the threshold, and he never walked through. To the woman who left without noise, who didn't burn bridges, who didn't wait to be chosen, who didn't twist herself for validation. You were never the storm. You were the mirror in the calm before it. He can't forget you, because the shadow you left behind is not yours. It's his, and now it follows him everywhere. The woman who walks away in silence isn't weak. She simply sees more, and refuses to wait for a man who cannot see himself.